This podcast deals with disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion and headphones are advised. This podcast deals with disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion and headphones are advised. It's time to open the door to your mind. Sit back and listen to true horror. But be careful of what you allow in. Because it's time to go through the fog.
I'm DarkHero, and this story's called Howling.
When I was a kid, the neighborhood kids and I would play in an empty lot close by. We'd bring our toys, bikes, anything fun out there, and we'd play for hours. Some of us would even play baseball, and we felt like those children from the Sandlot movie. Hell, it was exactly like the movie, even the mean old dog in the house behind us. There was never an issue before. But one summer, while all of us kids were playing, we could hear that dog moaning and groaning at us. We didn't know much about the house. We'd ask our parents who lived out there, and they'd shrug and tell us to mind our business. I tried looking over the fence to catch a glimpse of any signs of life, but there was so much foliage that we couldn't see anything. That's when rumors started to circulate through the children of the neighborhood. The house behind the lot was the home to a family of monsters that only come out at night, with their demon dog guarding the premises. Stupid, I know, but that's what we truly believed as kids. Well, one afternoon, someone's ball went sailing over the fence and into the backyard of that mysterious house. From beyond the mass of trees and bushes, we all froze when we heard that odd wailing. It was the sound of that demon dog going after the lost toy. I looked over to see a girl crying, and not just any girl. Her name was Madison, and she lived just across the street from me. Her family moved in last year, and we went to the same school. I always kind of fancied her, so when I saw that she was crying, I decided to man up and do something about it. I hopped onto my bike and made my way to that house. I turned around the block and arrived at the front of the house. It was an old place. If you thought the back was overgrown, then you'd be surprised to see a forest in the front yard. I got off my bike and followed the paved path towards the front door. The house was fully in view. It was completely disheveled. So much so that I was sure it was abandoned. Imagine you're a typical haunted house and you'd see what I saw that day. So I stepped up to the front door. The wood was chipped and cracked, and I knocked. There was no response, so I knocked again. A moment later, a middle-aged woman opened the door. She had long brown hair tied into a tight bun. Her face was so skinny that she almost looked like a skeleton, and she wore a white dress that flowed to the floor. She stared at me with dark, empty eyes, and I stammered, our ball got into your yard, so I came by to get it. Her face twisted into anger, and she began to shout, "Get off my property, you filthy thing!" She proceeded to pull out a kitchen knife and pointed it towards me. I ran out of there so fast. All I could think about was getting the hell out of there. When I returned to the empty lot, the kids gathered around me asking all sorts of questions. Did you see the demon dog? Was it really haunted? All these questions I answered after catching my breath. I looked at Maddie and realized I didn't come back with her ball. I told her sorry, but she assured me that was okay. Then she pointed out that I didn't have my bike. My fear turned to embarrassment. I was so scared. that I ran back without my bike. The sun was starting to set, and we were all getting ready to go home. The dog began to howl, and it sent a chill down my spine. I needed to go back and get my bike, or my parents would kill me. I psyched myself up and forced myself back to the house. When I got there, I realized the bike was gone. I noticed a small trail through the overgrown grass where my bike was. I took a deep breath and followed it, stepping through trash and branches to the old gate of the fence. I slowly unlatched the lock and tried my best to quietly open the door, but it groaned as I pulled it. I opened it enough to squeeze my body through, and when I crossed the threshold, I was grateful for the full moon because it gave me enough light to see in the darkness. I found different colored balls, an assortment of toys, and small bones scattered all around the backyard. I was absolutely terrified, but I swallowed it all down to move forward. I saw my bike laying on its side on the ground, a small human shape over it. It sounded like a dog as it chewed on my bike's front tires. It paused for a moment and began to sniff the air. Before I knew it, whatever this thing was turned to look at me and pounced. It was much bigger than a normal dog, and it placed its full weight atop me. We crashed onto the ground, and it began to snap its jaw at me. I pushed it away and realized I didn't touch fur, but rough human skin. I managed to kick the monster off me, and the moon revealed its visage. It was not a dog. It was a boy. Maybe a couple years younger than me. He was completely naked, positioned on all fours, like a beast with long brown hair, and he actually roared at me. And it sounded just like the demon dog we'd hear from the empty lot. He opened his mouth to reveal his teeth, and it was... I noticed that his mouth was only teeth and no tongue. I decided to forget the bike and ran back, but the boy began to dash towards me. I heard each of his steps were accompanied by the rattling of chains. He was bound to that yard, so all I needed to do was make it past the fence's door. So I ran. I ran as fast as I could with this boy beast at my heels, and his jaw snapped at my ankles. I pushed myself forward. I ended up crashing at the door. It was so old that I took it down with me. I was in pain, but I ignored it for my survival. I quickly got up and yelled out, hoping to draw the attention of the neighborhood. I made it to the street, and I was met with a few of the surrounding kids and their parents. I spoke a jumble of words, but was able to make one thing clear. Call the police! The rest of the night was a blur, but the lady of the house was arrested. It took a few officers to detain her beast boy. The woman was the boy's mother, and obviously she was a psychopath. The boy's father had left, and she took her anger out on the boy, cutting his tongue and abusing him every day. The boy was treated like a dog every day, and eventually became one. It's been decades since that incident, and it always fills me with terror thinking about it. It's not the memory of the beast boy that scares me, but the thought of a human being doing that to their child.
Through the Fog is recorded and edited by Howling. Intro and outro by Katie Kemp. For more stories, go to www.throughthefog.org. We'll be back in 2 weeks, so keep your eyes on the fog.